recorded live from random secret studios all over the Delaware Valley.
I'm the capo. He's the prez.
And this is Sons of Ben, the pod. Well, welcome back once again, Adam, to day 442 of the quarantine. And another, I think this is week 17 of the pod. So we've been doing 17 episodes and we've been quarantined for
That can't be
385 days.
Wait, we've done 17 of these?
This is the 17th edition.
Wow.
It feels like
That seems
yesterday.
A lot.
Feels
It
like yesterday we
really
were drinking
does.
beer and eating pizza and saying, let's do this.
Taking whiskey shots with Saba.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Where's Gigio? I miss Gigio.
I have
mean,
talked to Gigio.
Is he good? Is he hanging in there? Because I need pizza. It's literally all I can do.
He's actually doing well, and he's been basically trying to declutter his wardrobe. So he said he was throwing out a lot of suits from the 2000s. I kind of want him to hold on to them just because I'd like to see him model them, but you know, I think that's I think he's donated those.
The first time I saw Gigio at a game, I 1,000% thought he was a part of the front office because he was wearing his custom Union blazer with the patch on it. And I'm like, well, in Europe, this is only reserved for dudes who sit in a box together and all wear the same shit. So I'm like, Gigio, it's nice that you're down here with the commoners, out here with the people. And he's just like, nope, I'm just fashion savvy for your average Union fan.
Well, the weird thing is the first time I ever met him, it was the famed U.S. Open in Houston. And he was trying to bum a ride with us on the bus because he was staying at the hotel, but he wasn't sitting in our section because, he's friends with Fafa. So he was wearing that jacket. And I'm going, wait, people from the team, they were on a charter flight. Why? It's this guy here. And then they introduced him to me, and then we had some mutual friends. So I was like, oh, okay. And he was, because Fafa got season pass or sideline passes, he was actually taking pictures with the U.S. Open Cup, and Sugarman yelled at him because he was like taking pictures and touching the cup, and Sugarman's like, we talked about that, because Jay didn't realize he wasn't part of the front office. So that brings me to the point of, hey, this week's guest, I guess, is virtual Gigio, because we didn't put a guest in, but we'll just talk to virtual Gigio about things Union. Yeah, we didn't have a guest this week, mostly because all of our schedules are getting so screwy that it's sometimes tough to book a guest, but we'll get one for next week once we figure out what day we're going to record.
Man, I would just assume most people would want to be on a 10 a.m. podcast on a Thursday, but apparently I am in the minority with that thought.
I know, and before we started recording, Devin and I were talking, and I was just saying how weird it is. Like, I'm technically back to work on 9 to 5, but we're working remotely, and usually it would be like, hey, we have to do a conference call. What's 3 days from now between 1 and 5? What time slot do you have in it? Now people just are, well, you're home doing nothing. Can we have a Zoom call in 2 minutes? I mean, there has been zero protocol about when to schedule stuff. So when we're trying to schedule this meeting, I'm trying to find our recording. I'm trying to find a time slot that work's not going to call about, hey, you got to be on this call because we set it up 10 minutes ago. So it's been very weird scheduling things now.
You're on drug dealer hours now. You're on call. There's no rhyme or reason to it. You're just up. Why are you not up? It's like, what are you doing?
Maybe we'll all get
do you have
beepers
to
now.
do?
We'll get pagers. That would be awesome. So,
First off, can we talk about technology that came and disappeared quicker than the pager? Because like the usefulness of that thing was like a good 10-year shelf life. But people being like, yes, a pager. No, text messages are invented. Never mind, we're good.
well, do you remember the pagers that were text messages that you would call the operator and she would type it out and it would pop up on the screen? Or am I dating myself?
You are dating yourself. I do remember these because my mom had one of those, and I remember when she got a Palm Pilot, and I remember when that broke the world, when that was the greatest tool. That was Star Wars. I mean, that was Star Trek. Right there is when the Palm Pilot was invented.
I do remember that. Yeah.
Nice.
The worst was you needed the Palm Pilot and your phone to do your daily work. You're like, got my cell phone, got my Palm Pilot. So as a guy, you basically needed a purse to do your work, to carry your crap with you.
We call those satchels. sir.
Yeah.
Satchels
You and Indiana
and
Jones.
European man bags. That's what we'll call those. But no,
Yeah.
I remember the last stage of that for the needing an entire bag for all your crap is when you had to put your keys in one pocket, your phone in another pocket, your iPod in a third pocket, and your wallet in the fourth pocket because you couldn't have a phone and an iPod, man. You had to keep those things separately. And then you weren't also attaching your wallet to your phone. It was a eighth grade was a weird time.
Thank God Steve Jobs just simplified it for all these kids now. I don't think they could. I don't think they could handle this. But
No. Now your credit card's in the phone.
I know. Oh well, let's get this train wreck back on track. So the beer of the pod, since it's 10 a.m., is whatever you've got in your cup that you can hide from your boss. That's just water, but anyhow. But yeah, I just wanted to let everybody know. Remember, Yards, 2SP, and the Larimer. I actually went down to the Larimer for Cinco de Mayo to grab his special bottle of I'm going to forget the name of it, but it's a pineapple-ish sour that he aged in rum casks. I haven't opened it yet. Can't give you a review, but he had a taco truck there. So for Cinco de Mayo, we got some tacos. I brought them back home. So the Larimer and like I said, I think last week I stopped off at 2SP, and then of course Yards. I've been making my weekly, bi-monthly trips down there to get some beer. Don't give me that shady eye. It could be bi-monthly, man. Both you guys are
No,
looking
but
at me like
weekly
I'm
by
lying.
weekly.
Could be bi-weekly too. Don't judge. Just because my recycling's only 2 times a week, don't judge.
Daily by daily.
Yeah, daily by daily. So
Jess's Jess's birthday was this past Tuesday, and I think the best present was that at midnight on Monday I was able to finally get into that wine and spirits website to place an order, and I finally was able to get some liquor delivered to the house. So I think that was, out of all the presents, that was probably the best one.
I got
No.
30 beers sent to me for my 30th birthday. Yards is a part of this package, but my friend sent them from New Jersey. Yeah, you can't. It's kind of hard to do that cross state lines, kids. But if you're sending alcohol across state lines, just know it's going to be difficult. And so that's I turned 30 March 25th. Still haven't gotten it yet, but hey, it's cool. It's the thought that counts.
oh, it still hasn't shipped to you.
Yeah. So apparently, because it was it wasn't just Yards. It was just Yards was a 6-pack in this 30 beer ensemble that came from like all the far corners of the universe. So I'm just expecting like Skyrim beers, like legit Narnia shit in here. Like stuff from like Neverland. I don't know, but it's gonna take forever to get to my
You're going to
apartment.
be
I
in your
actually
new.
am worried.
You're going to be
It's
in your new
not the
apartment.
yeah, I think it's gonna. I think I'm going to have to. I'm going to be those cliche people who come back to their old apartment for a month to get their mail and like 45 beers out of like a room somewhere.
I may just be hanging out by your apartment waiting for that package. Be like, I'm Adam Booth. I can sign for that. Thank you.
Yes, you definitely look like a 6'2" African American gentleman. I can see it right there.
Yeah, I can pass. Not a problem.
Not a problem.
Not a problem. Speaking of passing things off, in SOB news, it
Transition.
looks like the Drunken Union Zoom calls are continuing once again, Adam. So on Friday night, I'm actually going to invite a few guests to see if we can spice this up even more. And did you see your boy Jared wasn't offended about his shout out on the pod?
Look, do not fall. Like, here's the thing. All right, I love Jared. Jared is a rising star, and when we get back to Chester, you're going to see an enthused capo because that man is on a mission this season to give you the best of Sons of Ben capoing you can possibly imagine. There's a lot of excitement behind that, but my friend, when you lay down on a couch and put a blanket over yourself during a Zoom meeting with like 30 people, someone's gonna clown you. That
I know.
person was me, and
I
I
wish.
apologize. Only a
I
little.
wish we could have virtually drawn on his face, put a little mustache, and
It was just so adorable, but it was also like it was only because he went so hard on that beverage, the first beverage coming in. Like he did not pace himself, which a lot of people did it. people didn't realize it was a marathon, not a sprint. The Union Drunk Hour. So
Yeah, it's not an hour, so
no, it's like
good
two
to
to
know. You
three.
might want to pace yourself. Throw some ice water in the mix. You know, it's more like a tailgate than a happy hour. is how I say it.
But like as a good promo, I would like to say that the third hour is always the best hour though. Because if you can last that long, you get unfiltered Jonathan Tannenwald, and that is something that you can't put a price tag on. Let me tell you, it is.
Yeah.
I've learned so much in the last 3 weeks about local sports, soccer, the Union, some underbelly stuff that I would have never known that if I wasn't a part of that drunk Union happy hour experience. You know, that's a free advertisement right there.
Now, Adam. Speaking about the Union, I don't know if you saw this,
I
but on
didn't.
Saturday, our Union beat the living shit out of Cincinnati. Did you catch that game?
Okay, so when I talk about video games, there's weird awkward silence. Sometimes there's chastising, you know, there's all that. But oh, now that the Union get involved, yes, I did see that actually, and
Wait,
good
I wasn't
for
talking about a
us.
video game. It was in my head that we actually had a game. You mean there was a video game of this?
Matt,
All
this is
right,
getting. You might want to see somebody about this.
I don't think the Norristown State Hospital is still open, but we might have to have a conversation.
You mean
No,
Casper and
I
Wooten didn't score hat tricks against Cincinnati?
first off, do you ever believe Casper and Wooten could play on at the same time because they're
We're in
virtually
a
the
whole
same
different world
striker?
now. Remember that?
Look, all I'm saying is I love the Union, but they have two of the same striker, and Casper and Wooten are the same guy. I really want to stress that.
Matt's starting 11 is just 5 Shibilkos and 5 Wootens. That's
Oh man, I'm here for that. Actually, I think Wooten would be a good sweeper. You know, he's got that body for it. I got it. I'm here for that. But no, ultimately, I saw that this EMLS thing, this not EMLS, that's a different thing, but this FIFA whilst in quarantine has the same thing as like the MLB, the show, and I think the NBA had a tournament earlier in the season, and I'm waiting for Madden to come up and have their new tournament because they're dropping. Honestly, they should be dropping, what, 3 months is the new Madden? They usually come out in August. So who knows if they'll just have a Madden 19 or 20 tournament. But yeah, I'm happy that they're at least putting some product out there. And I can imagine what it's like to have Javier Montero, Wooten, and Santos score all of the goals because obviously they're supposed to score all the goals.
Of course, yeah. Now, in real Union news, you know, you're searching the social medias of the world, and it looks like I don't know if you've seen this or not, Adam, but Casper's got a new puppy.
Yes.
Kai's got a new baby.
Yes.
So my question is, which one do you think is cuter?
Well, they're virtually the same thing at this moment. Like they're the same creature.
The
It's
baby's
like
not
a
as
baby
furry.
and a puppy.
Yeah, the baby's not as furry. It's like
Depending on depending on who you are, you know, that's not universal. I had very little hair coming out, but you know, some people just come out with that full flock. So I don't know what to tell you. But look, I think in the short term it is the baby. In the long term it is the puppy because the puppy you could still enjoy even into adulthood because they still kind of act like a puppy. But the baby then talks back, like needs cars and stuff. You know, has an attitude. You know, gets a report card.
and the baby will learn to clean up after itself, where the puppy won't. So there's
All
some
right. So, but
back and forth.
as a 30-year-old man who struggles with dishes, I don't know. I'm not sure. You know, that
Now,
might not be a truth.
and that's a great transition to this next point, Adam, because last week we discussed some Netflix series, and you and I were
Yes.
chastising one producer, Devin, about his taste in horrible, old timey, Victorian era English football gaming
He already
series.
just has an entirely bad taste in English football. So therefore, an entirely
True.
bad taste in English football-based cinema seems like a very simple transition.
Did you
just
see
a small
through
step.
through the magic of
Lateral
Twitter
at
that
best.
one Tim McDermott, chief business
Friend of the
officer of the
pod.
Philadelphia Union, friend of the pod, tweeted out his utmost support and revelry for the English game. So right now, Tim McDermott and producer Devin have the same taste in Netflix films.
Okay,
In
so
other
what day
news,
is it?
Sons of Ben the Pot are looking for a new producer with better taste in TV.
Wait, what day is this? This is like what you said was day like 4,200 at the quarantine, like where it is the year 2035, robots have taken over the world. Like, how long did it take Tim to find this? Because like we've been in a pandemic for a while, and like I'm sure Tim has been busy, you know. I know there's some semblance of running an organization here, but like, did you just turn on your Netflix queue, or were you just watching everything else that you possibly could have watched, and then fell upon the English game? Because at this point, if you're watching the English game, I'm hoping you watched all of Ugly Delicious and like twice the Tiger King and like Mystery Science Theater is back on that thing too. Please watch that before you watch the English game. If there's like Bend It Like Beckham, Shaolin Soccer, Jesus, I could go on. Like what are we doing here? I think Drumline's on there too. Anything over that movie.
There might be
Maybe
about four of us. I think there's about four of us that found that show enjoyable.
There are dozens of us, literally dozens.
I'm gonna give Tim the benefit of the doubt, and maybe he was helping his brother with the Buffalo Bills draft, so that why he couldn't see the English whatever the hell. Maybe that's what Tim was doing. He was in his virtual bunker with his brother and looking at cornerbacks and right backs and everything else. No,
So I think I blacked out through parts of the draft because I think I was barely paying attention. Was McDermott in the draft? Like was Sean in? Like was it like were we looking at his house?
I
Did they
didn't
have him
see
like
it.
Kingsbury, like Cliff in his giant porn mansion? Did we have like Sean McDermott in Buffalo somewhere?
I didn't notice it, and maybe just because anytime somebody mentions the word Buffalo to me, I fall asleep.
Let's go Buffalo.
I mean, what? It's just so. But you're right. I didn't see Sean, and I don't know. I guess I would have been interested to see how the other McDermott lives.
I thought that was the most fascinating part about the whole draft, was just being in people's houses like that. That was the cool thing. It was just first off, again, Kiff Cliff Kingsbury. I hate his parents. Cliff Kingsbury's porn mansion was my favorite thing about the entire draft. Because especially since it was nighttime on the East Coast, it was daytime out there, so you could see the sun radiating in there. But my second favorite thing was the undisclosed location lair that was Jerry Jones's yacht. Those were my two best things about the NFL draft. I know we're going way back, but I just had to bring those up again. That was amazing.
We're actually just going way back to last week's pod, but that's okay.
That was so good, though. Oh my god, that lair.
Now,
Loved
speaking
it.
of
And we
good,
need that will save the MLS draft. If you just have like Jay Sugarman in the helicopter drafting the whole time, just in flight.
but speaking of good news, MLS news, you know what's back?
Yeah.
The players. Apparently
I thought you were
on
gonna tell me Caitlin
Wednesday they
Carr.
were allowed back to work out. So the players are back on the pitch working out, and I think groups of 4. I'm not even sure. I haven't gotten a full
Yeah, like,
grasp.
what
of,
does that mean? Because they said they were doing like individual workouts, and I'm like, well, they could have just done that at home.
Yeah.
Right?
They're not allowed to pass the ball between each other or shoot on a goaltender or something like that. So it's like,
Do they think coronavirus is transmitted through the sock?
Well, they also all have to wear their workout clothes with them, and
They have to
go
wear the
home and do their
snoods
own
the whole
laundry.
time?
They have to do their own
they have
laundry.
to-
So and they wear masks.
So they're wearing like the cold weather gear mask. I want to see the people in Dallas get heat stroke just from the mask.
Oh,
I
yeah,
went
what about the
running
people in
2 days
Miami?
ago. Well, yeah, I went running 2 days ago, and it was like one of those days that was 70, and I'm like, I'm in full like hot weather running gear, but then I have to put the mask on, and I'm dying just because my neck is not getting any ventilation whatsoever. I'm dying, and I'm just like that seems awful.
No, I
if
couldn't
I'm a
even. I
soccer
don't even
player.
like walking when I'm walking in the city, like always having the mask on because you're just
Yeah.
breathing on yourself, and then you feel like you've got that rash around your chin. So when you take it off, you look like Homer Simpson with that just different coloring. You're like, what the hell is this? So yeah, I couldn't imagine having to work out on a mask.
I'll see your mask and raise you glasses with a mask. It's basically
Oh,
walking around with a sauna,
you
completely just
didn't you
going
didn't
directly
you didn't
in
buy
your
the
eyes.
fogging spray, Adam?
You know, I have like the blue light stuff in here, and I got like the anti-scratch and all this other stuff, and I'm just like, damn it, I don't need another thing for this for my eyewear. Just please stop.
I'll drop it off with that 30-pack of beer that you're waiting on if you really need it.
I really feel like that's gonna come back as like a 20-pack of beer.
It is if Devin and I get there.
It might be a 15. I'll add Jess in there, and it's gonna be a 15-pack, and that's
Oh,
all I'm gonna
yeah.
get back from all of this.
Yeah, but no. So it looks like some things are slowly coming back. Like right now, the EPL is they were supposed to have their Zoom meeting this week already, but now they pushed it back to Monday. But they're trying to get back to it. And then do we talk German soccer? Dare we? Adam and Devin? Do we talk the Bundesliga?
That's the most like. Wait, Bundesliga is actually like the most competitive league right now in Europe. So
Well, it's the only
Well,
league.
it's the only
so-
league
Well, yeah,
right
but
now in Europe. So.
no, isn't Belarus still doing their shit?
I don't think so. I think
They stopped. They finally realized
came to their
vodka
senses there.
doesn't
Yeah.
cure coronavirus. Okay. Well, I was like, the Bundesliga, like the top three, there was a very good competition going on. So I'm here for Bundesliga, but what are we doing with the EPL? Doesn't need to come back. Let's be real about that. That's
Yes, they
that's
do.
done. No, they don't.
Yes,
That's
they do.
that is a full functioning money grab
Oh, yeah,
because
without a doubt.
literally 1 week Liverpool will be crowned champions the next week, and then we'll be done
No,
with it. And they'll be-
Tottenham can crawl right up into that.
Tottenham has a better
Oh,
chance
no, my
getting
bad.
relegated. They have a better chance getting knocked into like the bottom 14 than legitimately getting no. They're fine. They might Europa.
Well, the
You know,
NFL
you might
screwed, the
Europa.
NFL screwed Tottenham. Did you see how the
They
NFL
did
screwed
though.
Tottenham?
Yeah, they
They
did.
really
They
did
did
though.
We lost about like half of our revenue in one day.
That is so shitty. And it's just like they were not spending money regardless. And then they were like, no, man, we had that. It's like Penn's.
You wanted to see us not spend money? Watch this.
Exactly. They're never buying a player again. It's just like, it's terrible. But no,
How are
I
like
was.
2 to 4 NFL games give them more money than a whole
It's
season of
because they
Premier
could-
League?
It's because they could actually sell the stadium out those days.
Yeah,
Oh.
there you go. Oh,
And
boy.
do they serve? Here's my question: do they serve beer in NFL games throughout the whole time like they do in America? Because in England,
Oh, yeah.
you can only get a beer. You can't go to your seats with a beer.
Yeah.
You go.
Well,
like,
in Germany
before the
you
game-
can, right? You can bring your beer
Yeah.
to your seat in Germany.
Yeah,
You
but in
can't
England, they
Yeah.
still have that stigma of the '80s, and people will get like. I remember when I went to a Chelsea
People
match.
died.
My
People were
my
dying in England regularly.
my buddy
in the
sent me a
80s.
text. My buddy sent me a text on the phone like, "Hey, go and get 2 beers." And I'm going, okay, so I'm fighting my way to get 2, and it ends up it was Budweisers, like English Budweisers, and 2 of them. So they probably cost me like £40, which is like $1,000. And I text my buddy back. I'm like, all right, I got the 2 beers. Where do you want to meet? And he goes, oh no, I'm not going to meet you. I just figured you want to chug 2 beers before you sit back in your seats because you can't. Because we're in separate sections. So I
Yeah.
had to chug like 40 pounds worth of English Budweiser before I got back to my seats at Chelsea. And I'm going, oh man, this is not the way you want to like watch sports. So they got
No,
weird old
you want to
restrictions.
gradually get blitzed. You don't want to get blitzed in one sitting, then try to wobble your way to your fucking seats. That sounds awful.
It's not even. It's
It's
not
like
even
college
getting blitzed
basketball at
from
a
it.
Catholic school.
You just got all this like carbonation in you, and you're waddling back, and you're like, I gotta let out a
Right?
burp or something. Like, no, that's uncomfortable. Yeah. And I was in the shed end, so that's just like the most white trash part of all the Chelsea. So you're just like, holy crap! It was. An
I am a
experience,
Chelsea
but-
supporter. 80% of Chelsea's white trash. Ironically, for the
Oh.
neighborhood for which they exist in,
Yeah.
that is a trashy organization of fans. I'm like, ever some people occasionally like, you're a black Chelsea fan. How do you feel about that? I'm like, sometimes not good, sometimes not great, sometimes a little sad, a little sad.
Chelsea fans kind of remind me of New York Mets fans.
Oh God.
And it pains me because I'm a Chelsea fan, but I blame Dave Gardner from my Walt Disney World roommate who is from that area and was a Chelsea fan since the 70s, and because he adopted the Eagles and the Phillies, I felt obliged to adopt Chelsea. And this is in the 90s when I did it. So it's like I didn't really fully understand how bad those fans were. And by then you're already committed. You're like, okay, I'm already in. And you're like, oh, God. And then, of course, the only time I got to Stamford Bridge, the only seat I could get was in the shed end. And I'm like, holy 700 level of Philadelphia. Like,
In a parallel universe, he's having the same podcast, and he was like, "Little did I know how shitty these Philadelphia Eagles fans were, but I felt obliged at this point to be a fan of them." And oh my God, it was like the shed end all over again up in Lincoln Financial Field.
the funny thing is, I did take him to the vet, and
Oh my God,
my other buddy
no!
from England, and again,
Does he
separate
like
seats.
us
So
anymore?
Oh yeah, well, so my buddy and I, the Chelsea fan, he was sitting lower level with me. We had seats. The other guy was with my other friends in the 700 level. And
Yeah.
remember, the vet had those super boxes on the very top that nobody would
Which
sit in.
for who for what? Exactly. That was, I don't know why those existed.
These kids were throwing like pennies or dimes down on people in the 700 level. So then people at the 700 level were turning around and throwing like the ice from their sodas and their drinks back at the kids. And my one American buddy looks at my British friend Sandy. He goes, "Sorry about this. If you feel uncomfortable, we can leave. We can try to get walking, standing room only or something." And my buddy's dry as can be. He's like, "Shit, mate. We'd be tearing up these seats and throwing up those little bastards." So he was totally unfazed by the 700 level.
I remember the one moment, and this was really interesting because the River Ends had like some moments of like spat, especially with like other fans, but not that many, especially not in recent years. But one time we had an argument with Red Bull fans. This was like maybe 2017, a couple years ago, and I think this is right before they started banning us using cups. After that, like we couldn't have bottles during
Bottles because
rivalry
of
games anymore.
Yeah.
But no, but it was like I don't think it was that particular incident that made the ban happen, but it was like around the time the ban was happening, and I brought her and one of her friends from Sicily to the game, and it was getting rowdy. People were kind of going back and forth. It was like the only time security was ever like, "Hey, let's break some of you kids up. Like let's chill out. This is unnecessary at this point." And I'm looking at my girlfriend. I'm like, "I'm sorry. This is not how we normally act, and we're good." And my girlfriend is she thinks she's funnier than she is sometimes, but I love her. But she pulls up this video, right, and she just shows me this guy hoisting a scooter into the Palermo or stadium. I forget what the stadium is called, but on the lower level of the stadium, you see these gentlemen walking in with this pink Vespa. Maybe beige, maybe pink Vespa. Somehow, this Vespa gets up to the second level. I don't know. Stairs, as a conga line, it was maybe transported. I don't know how no one stopped it. But this Vespa made it up to the second level and then proceeded to make it back down to the first level by being jettisoned from the second level. And I was like, oh, okay. So this is mild-mannered in comparison. You were like, yes, no, people normally get cut for less around here. And I'm like, okay, I understand.
Now, to clarify, because you couldn't remember the name of the Palermo Stadium is called the Parking Garage.
Man, it is actually the stadium is a little old, but its location is beautiful. It's like right around all of these stunning mountains, and like the background of it looks like I think it was like where Arizona State plays football, and it has that really nice background of like the mountains right there. It's equivalent to that. It is gorgeous, and it contrasts very nice with the pink and black. I actually like the facility a lot. I'd like it better if we weren't in Serie D, but that's another conversation.
Well, now you can get tickets and parking for your Vespa for the same low price now that they're in Serie D. So look on the bright side about that, Is that a middle finger you're giving me? What the hell?
Multiple, actually. There's two, damn it.
But speaking of world soccer football and cheap, did you guys see the article? I think I sent it, but I know I put a blurb. KPMG, the
Yes.
one of the big three accounting firms of the world or something, has said it's like the pandemic's wiped 11 billion or like 25% of total off of player value. So like you can now get Messi for like $13 and two rolls of toilet paper. So my question is, with players' value dropping down, are teams not going to sell players now? Are they going to start looking for youth and bargains and then wait like one more season before they try to sell players? Like, what do you think is going to go on? And does this help us, sell the Aronson brothers for even more money?
I think they're only going to, I mean, this is only going to do, was this 2 years long, though? Like, let's be real about the economy, about sports, Once a normality is allowed to be established, whatever that is, a lot of these leagues will just shoot right back to their normal spot. Some won't. Some won't. Obviously, there'll be some casualties to this, but as long as you give people the option, like the NFL will come back, the NBA is going to come back, all of them are going to be, close to normal within 2 to 3 years. Let's be like by 2023, I expect none of these things to be affecting those leagues. So it's just like, can you wait a year? I don't think this summer's transfer market is going to be horrific. It is going to be a barren wasteland of near extinction. It's going to be horrid. However, the next summer after that, I expect, the usual suspects to, make their moves. I expect Man U wants to finally get back in their position. They might take advantage of this. I feel like if you're a big club right now, this is your moment to just take advantage of all the tiny clubs that have to like reorganize all their deck chairs at the moment. You can just be like, let me swoop in and get the guy that you were going to sell at this level at a premium now, because you can't afford to tell me $100 million for X player now. You can tell me 60 million, I'll do that.
Now, the bad news for us Union fans, does this mean one Mr. Beckham goes that model and swoops in and brings people to Miami?
Oh, this would be perfect for him. This is a perfect time for him.
It's
to
not
do
what I want to
that.
hear.
No, but I know, but I'm not gonna lie to you, Matt.
No, I know.
This is perfect for him because the thing about David was the only thing holding him back was an inability to get something built in the swampland known as South Florida in terms of a stadium, and B, America's really not that good soccer league in comparison to where he's coming from. And if we want to talk about travel being C, that's another conversation. But those things, but the thing that was the draw was you get to play for David Beckham, you get to make a decent amount of money. And the thing that people sleep on is the amount of money that you're now making in endorsements because you're now in America, and you've topped the probably the largest media market in the globe. That's good for you, and you're in Miami. You get to be in Miami, which only sucks 2 months out of the year, and that's because of hurricanes. Beyond that, really great for the other 10 months.
July and August suck in Miami. It's hot. It's
Dude, man,
balls hot.
Better than July and August, South Carolina.
Yeah, I don't know. Now that Adam upset me because now Miami's going to become a monster like Atlanta, and I'm going to be pissed off. Now it's time for me to turn the tables and get Adam all riled up. Adam.
Yes.
U.S. women. U.S. courts. Go.
Right.
Those are the trigger words.
No, look. I'm going to preface everything I say with...
Apparently we are not equal, Adam.
No, right, exactly. No. You know what? Okay, I'm going to preface everything I say, but I went to St. Joseph's, okay? We have a top business school in the country, one of the best MBAs out there. That's not even a plug for my school because I'm kind of actually mad at them right now. However, I recognize their talents. It's a good school for what particularly I'm about to talk about. If you want to talk about the vacuum, and I always like to use the term video game logic, right? Video game logic is when you're playing 2K and you're making a trade. The only things that matter in that trade are, does the money work out? Does the stats work out? And does the overall player ratings work out? It doesn't matter about the emotions of the player. It doesn't matter what the city is. You can trade anyone to Milwaukee as long as the money works in the video game universe. In the real world, that does not work that way. There's a reason why Los Angeles keeps getting people regardless of what the situation is. There's a reason why people don't want to be playing for James Dolan regardless of what New York Knicks situation is. Emotions actually matter. And on that merit, the eye test matters. And the feeling matters. If you want to have the conversation that based off of the financial evidence that the women's national team doesn't deserve more pay, we can have that. And I would be inclined to agree with you. But if you want to have the conversation about America and kind of just how we built this system and how, not U.S. soccer, I mean the United States, and how we built, how we act and how we perceive ourselves in the world, you have to reward the people who succeed. You have to reward the people who do the best. The phrase I always love in the NFL is, the NFL is not balanced. You know, routinely, there are teams that will play weaker schedules than other teams with stronger schedules. Routinely. And no one talks about why the Patriots had to play the AFC South while the Eagles played the NFC North. No one has that conversation. That's an unbalanced, unfair merit system. So your records don't have a balance to them. But we always say, without asterisk, whoever wins the Super Bowl won the Super Bowl. We don't question it. We don't try to say, but because of this. We don't say, well, because of this. We say, you did the job. You won the Super Bowl. You beat who was in front of you. Now we want to penalize the United States women for that exact purpose because we don't believe that that the insulting merit, the insulting premise that we don't believe that the other women's national teams are good enough anyway. That the United States of America wouldn't be the best team in the world if it wasn't for the fact that the Italian FA hasn't been given enough to their women, or that the English women aren't getting enough money. We won't talk about the fact that England has an infinitely better women's soccer league than the United States of America. That is backed by the actual Premier League. We won't talk about the fact that France, that the Netherlands, that Italy, that all of these nations, that Germany, that Japan, that the normal powers in men's soccer have equally gaining strong women's soccer clubs. The fact that Brazil is still dominating. This is one of the few situations in the conversation of sexes of soccer where one sex is very much better than the other one, and it is the women. There's very other few countries that can boast that same merit. The gap is there. And the fact that we're going to say, but let's talk about the technicalities. We can have the technicality conversation. At the end of the day, the United States women's soccer team deserves more money than the men's soccer team on the sheer principle is they win. They do what they're supposed to. And the U.S. Men's Union also agrees that they should at least get equal.
Yeah, and it's funny because I come out, and we talked about it briefly before we started recording it. I get myself a little pissed when I hear equal pay because I come from, a majority of like a sales background where you get this thing called commission. And so if you're a sales guy and I'm a sales guy, we're not going to have equal pay because it's merited on who brings the most money into the organization gets a bigger paycheck. So I'm at the point where if the U.S. men's team is bringing in more revenue, then yes, I think the U.S. men's team should get a bigger cut of the revenue, even though they're not as successful. But where my fault lies is with U.S. soccer in general has made a complete shit show of marketing and selling this women's team. They've got absolute gold. They have got what we could say is almost 50% of the population untapped into a sport of built-in soccer fans. The fact that they would never make women's jerseys or men's jerseys with, Mia Hamm's name on it, so dads could wear a jersey when he's taking his daughters to the game. But they've got the men's team has got jerseys. You can get a Pulisic jersey in a men's, women's, little kids, every size under the. So U.S. Soccer will not market the women's team equally like they do the men, thereby not bringing in the revenue that they could. So my fault is more with just the overall arcane way the U.S. Soccer Federation markets the sport and these two teams unequally, where they are hamstringing the revenue that they could be bringing into this women's game.
I mean, it's you are 1,000% right, and it's such like it's borderline infuriating because at the core of all of this is U.S. soccer is doing it to itself. You
Yeah.
know, it's not that it's all right. If you want to give me the conversation, there's not enough money coming into soccer in America somehow. Let's have that conversation. You want to tell me there's not enough money coming into soccer in America where we can't make this thing at least close to equal. Okay. My next question is, what are you going to do to bring more money into soccer in America? And what they do about this is they put the pay-to-play systems in. They kind of partner themselves with MLS, but they kind of use it as a prop and not so much as a partnership. You know, they use their MLS stadiums and all that stuff to play their team, to play their friendlies against all these teams. They put the She Believe Cup and all this instead of real kind of competitions and all that. They want, like, the women's game suffers a lot because of a lot of the other nations, frankly, do not put enough effort into it. But the United States wholeheartedly takes advantage of that fact and doesn't put more effort into their women by proxy. They know that by merit, by the fact that we've created such a juggernaut type of machine, which, even though we've won the last 2 World Cups, there was a giant gap between those 2 World Cups. Like there were other nations winning women's World Cups in between that. So it's not like the United States has literally just been this overwhelming force for 30 freaking years of women's soccer. There has been the Germanys, there has been the Japans, there have been people who have come in here and also asserted their dominance. So it's not like we are the only country doing well at this sport. But it is the routineness of the United States playing on the merit that we're going to beat them anyway, so we don't even have to put that much effort into it. And it is frustrating to me because as a person who has sisters, who comes from a lot of women who were athletes in their background, I see their pain. I see their frustration. When you have a team literally be crowned the best in the world, and they can't even get the same type of paycheck with their male counterparts who couldn't even make the tournament. Like, if we want to talk about the economics, I'm well to have that conversation. I might even be inclined to agree with you if we're looking at it in the vacuum. But this is not a video game. This is real life. And what you are doing is you're discouraging 50% of the populace by saying it doesn't matter how good you are. It doesn't matter how well you perform. It doesn't matter if you achieve the pinnacle of what you were allowed to achieve. You're still not good enough.
Yeah, no, I couldn't say it better. And Devin, I don't know how I'm going to transition this, but I'm going to give it the best crack I can.
It's time for the Adam Booth Video Game Hour.
No,
We got imaging for this, right? Yes.
Speaking of U.S. soccer, MLS, international soccer, trying to grow this sport, we got presented, and then you had a little bit of conversation on the Drunken Friday Zoom with Mr. Tannenwald.
Yes.
What are you guys thinking about this potential MLS Liga MX merging that they're talking about? That, there's some people that are going, whoa, I don't want that. And other people are like, yeah, combine the leagues to make a super league. Because that's been the latest, like, real talk about the Mexican leagues are looking at the U.S. model going, ooh, we want that money. And then the MLS is looking at that TV numbers that Mexico brings in. And they're like, ooh, we want that money. And the idea is, let's just merge. And I don't know, is it going to work? Would it work? Like,
Who
I'm a
was
little
it
scared.
on Union Twitter that put together that like huge write up? I don't know if either of you guys saw that. It was like a whole thing.
I saw
on like
how
how
the
a merger would work.
I saw the
It would
divisions that
kind
they
of
created
poorly.
with that.
Yeah, I feel like if anything did happen, there's no way you're having a team from South Mexico fly all the way to Vancouver for a game.
What, in
Or
It's
coach?
not.
Of course you can.
or New England, or like
like
Tijuana goes
you're,
visit the Revs.
yeah, exactly. So I think first of all, it's not something that's going to happen anytime soon.
No.
This is something that might happen 10 to 15 to 20 years down the line, but it's definitely not something that's going to happen in the next 5 years. I don't think. There's no way. 5, 10 years. There's no way it's happening.
I think
Would
long
this
term
ruin the
only gets-
MLS Super Draft?
I'm gonna fight you. I think a long term this only helps Liga MX. Long term.
Oh yeah.
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 Right? Because if MLS is on a slow but a trajectory. Right? And you would assume in the same like Liga MX has been the premier North American soccer league forever. Right?
Well, the only one.
Well, I mean, yeah. Don't disrespect the Canadians. They got Edmonton FC in Ottawa Fury, maybe still. I mean, they actually might have folded, to be honest with you. Anyway, they've been the pinnacle for so long, but the problem with them is the revenue that they can get is capped by their TV deals, their reach. There's a reason why there's 75,000 sponsors even on like Club America. They got their money is not being made just from gate and stuff like that. It would totally help Liga MX. My question is, what does it help MLS long term? Long term, because if you think the league is going to grow, then there's going to be new TV deals in the future. You're eventually going to sign something with ESPN that isn't this bad, or FS1, or BN, or whatever emerges in the next 10 to 15 years if we go to streaming or something. When that's the moment, you're not going to need Liga MX anymore, and then you're going to try to explain to everyone why you have 50 freaking teams in one league.
That's
with no pro rel.
I'm more scared of all these teams. I mean, I'm having a hard time knowing the roster of Minnesota, for God's sakes. Now I've got to put in Tijuana, and it's so much. And then does it get watered down? Like, I get angry with major sports like baseball and the NBA with expansion. I'm going, no, I don't want that. I don't want 45 teams. I want like the best of the best playing. And like you said, I don't think it helps MLS in the long term. It might help them with ratings to get a not minor league TV deal. But if they stay the course, they're going to get a better deal. They're going to get a better deal.
That's what I'm saying. This is a cash grab. If you sit on your hands and wait, the fruits of your labor will pay off. Like, MLS is not going to be something that is going to boom in the next 10 years where it's going to be like, yeah, we're now competing with the other leagues. But if you stay the course, like Liga MX is at their peak. They're not going to get better. That league is not going to substantially get better. They're not going to get more influence. They're not going to. This is them at their top. MLS has a basement, a very steep floor, but also a very high ceiling. And you are, I feel, messing with your own trajectory and delegitimizing your league by doing this stuff. It's just.
Oh yeah, they become the minor league of that super league just by default.
Right? It's like I know they had the conversations of the Superliga over there in Europe when they were just like, because no one needs to see Norwich play football, and let's be real, no one does. I don't care about Burnley versus Wolverhampton, and if I was fans of those teams, I might, but I also know that those teams are never going to win the Premier League, so they probably are just like, just send us to the Championship and let us actually compete for trophies or some shit. It's like, it's such a thing where I understand in principle what you're doing, but then I'm like, take the best, take the best teams in the league and make that league with Tijuana, or split the country, have a league where all the southern teams play all the Mexican teams and all the northern teams play with Canada, and then have them have like a conference final in the middle. But to have 40 teams trying to organize a continental-based league where you have teams flying as far south as Mexico City and Acapulco and going as far north as Vancouver and Montreal, like, are you shitting me? Like, that's the most logistical nightmare.
Does Sammy Hagar become the owner of the Cabo Wabo team in Mexico? Then is he like the Will Farrell of that?
I wish. I can maybe get some Casamigos, like, George Clooney just starts owning teams and stuff like that. No, man, this is...
Sorry, Devin.
Yeah,
So
go Devin.
let me shout out who put this all together. It was at Thomas19064.
Yes.
Mike Thomas.
Mike
He
Tom.
put together all this stuff for like what a merger would even look like, and it actually, like, you look at it and it's like, okay, I can see that happening, because he basically split up MLS into 4 quote unquote leagues, and then split up Liga MX into 2 leagues, and you play everybody in your league and then play 2 other leagues. It's almost like the NFL setup where you play everyone in your division twice, home and away, and then you play one other division once. So then he laid it out really nicely there, and like put together a whole playoff bracket and like what it would look like, and U.S. Open Cup and Champions League, how that would still go on, stuff like that. And I think it.
So
they still not taking
he just
charter
laid
flights?
this all out. He did this himself. You're saying, right? Like this is his
yes,
example.
it looks like it. There's some great graphics here and everything. Looks
Yeah.
like it's something he put together.
I've got
so.
one word for Mike right now. Netflix. During the pandemic, Netflix.
No, man, he might end up on the English game.
Oh, true. Yeah.
No one needs
Keep spreadsheeting away, man.
Keep making spreadsheets. It's a lot more productive with your day, man. No, but like legitimately, it just, and I know Mike made this, and I've seen this model elsewhere too. I've like, people who've always flirted with this idea, and I'm just like, look, the United States of America dominates 4 of the top 5 revenue sports slots in the world. In terms of, or I guess technically Canada owns the NHL, so there's that. But like, but like 3 of the 5 slots are owned by the United States. You can let MLS creep up as long as you make that league relevant in your country. If you make MLS relevant in the United States, that's enough to make that league good enough. You don't need it to be an international league. The NFL is the greatest example of this. The NFL is, the Super Bowl is broadcasted in 60 billion homes across the globe on it, blah, blah, blah. No one in Korea is watching it at 5 in the morning, let's be real. All right? So the NFL is confined to the United States. The occasional times we go over to Europe, and I think Canada likes it, and I think South America got a hold of it a little bit. Soccer is a international game. Just make it good in your country. You don't got to make it good in England. And they'll still watch anyway because betting's a thing. And as long as you give them betting options, the globe is going to watch you. But you have to focus on making the MLS good in America/Canada, because it's already good. Mexico already likes the Liga MX. All you're going to do is mess with their mojo. They don't want to see Chicago. Not one of them wants to see Minnesota. No one gives a shit about, when eventually Phoenix Rising comes into the league, or when they get a Charlotte team. No one in Mexico cares about those teams. Not at all. Nor do we care about literally the other clubs that are not Tijuana or Club America, because I can't even really name that many in the Liga MX, to be honest with you. Sorry.
There it is.
Yeah, no.
Sorry.
No, I think we just did Don Garber's job for him. So Don, you're welcome. Take the rest of the day off. You can nix this, and we really don't even like that Super League tournament crap either. So you can get rid of all that.
Shit for a while. Just chill for like 5 years. No one asked for Charlotte. No one did. Nor St. Louis. You just put a team. You just had to move a team from Bridgeview to Soldier Field because they couldn't get anyone to come to suburban Chicago to watch them play. And now you added a team in Nashville that doesn't have a stadium, a team in Miami that doesn't have a stadium, a team in New York that still doesn't have a stadium. And now you're adding more teams. Just chill. 5 minutes. 5 years. Let it just grow. Please.
And that was brought to you by the Don Whisper, Adam Booth.
Just
Well-
5 minutes.
Well, guys, I think that wraps up another week of quarantine. It was good to see your smiling faces on the webcams that we have all set up. And,
I'm really happy that's how my week ended, was me just doing some ASMR to Don Garber real quick.
And next week's
Like,
guest will
clip
be
that
Don
and send
Garber.
it to him.
Please. Oh my God. Because here's the thing, I'd be so nice to him, but I would just tell him, you're doing a good enough job. You just just relax. No one asked for St. Louis. No one asked for St. Louis.
I did email the league to see if we can get Don on as a guest, and so far crickets.
Who's the deputy commissioner? Who is like the Adam Silver to their David Stern? Who's this? I want to talk to that guy.
Oh,
We
can go for that guy, the Don Jr., the Junior Don.
Because
Yeah.
that's the person you want to talk to, because that's probably the person who has all the power. They're probably the Dick Cheney of the situation. Don Garber probably doesn't do shit.
Man, I
Yes,
hope he
said
doesn't
it.
pepper you with buckshot.
Well, I mean, when you speak too much.
All right, guys. Well, hey, thanks for joining in on the episode, and thanks to Devin for not hitting us with anything, for getting a little off track.
There's not much of a track these days.
I like how
Really
Matt's like,
not.
yeah, let's stay on track there, buddies. I'm like, there's a pandemic. We haven't seen physical soccer be kicked in 2 months.
We've
Like,
got all this brilliant soccer news to go
Like,
over, you know.
tons.
can we literally Jakob Gleason's goal is still the most relevant Union highlight that we have at the moment.
No,
That's
we've
a
got Fang
real
working
thing.
out. They got the video of Fang working out. It's
They do have
more
that.
relevant now.
Man, I'm happy that now all of our buddies like Kevin Casey and all these people have become stars during the pandemic. Though that's been a fun
know.
thing to watch.
All right, guys. Well, thanks a lot. Have a good week, and wash your hands.
See you now.
See ya.